Hi, I'm GM Matthew Sadler.
And I'm WIM Natasha Regan. Welcome to this video, which continues our study of the Carlsbad pawn structure. In this game, AlphaZero adopts the Botvinnik system with knight ge2 and goes for f3 and e4. Stockfish tries a sophisticated defence with knight b6, and not to be outdone, AlphaZero plays a knight retreat, knight to d1, which both defends against any knight e3 and also later redeploys the knight to a powerful attacking place. There are some very nice moments in the game when AlphaZero's central pawns are pitted against Stockfish's highly advanced queenside pawns. Eventually the game is drawn.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful game. Some very original manoeuvres. I've played this line all my life, and well, there's a number of things I've never seen before, so well worth watching. Okay, let's get into this excellent game. So the game started d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6. An opening we've seen many times between these two engines, with both colours actually, and they're finding very interesting ways of developing.
In this game, AlphaZero is white and Stockfish is black.
That's right. So an early h6, both engines play that, and that's something actually that the top players haven't done very much, but it's gradually becoming more popular as well. So yeah, interesting just to see that. And here, yeah, AlphaZero plays a Botvinnik style of development here. So, as Natasha pointed out in the introduction, White's going to aim for f3 and e4 and break in the centre. Knight bd7, queen c2, these are all quite standard moves. And now knight b6. So this is an interesting idea. I mean, normally the knight goes to f8, and we looked on that in a previous video, which was the one on the Rook's Pawn Symphony. But Stockfish plays knight b6 here, and it has a number of points. I mean, first of all, the knight is aiming for this c4 square, which is useful, you know, whether White plays f2 to f3, or whether White tries and goes back to minority attack with b4 and b5.
Of course, Stockfish won't know that AlphaZero doesn't normally go for the minority attack.
Exactly.
But it does work against human players that want to play that way. So that c4 square is looking very tempting. Yeah,
it's a very nice. It's a nice square for the knight, and the interesting thing that Stockfish does on top of that is after f3 it plays bishop d7. So this move bishop d7, I mean, the bishop normally goes to e6, but on e6 it is a target, you know, either for something like knight f4 or even for an f-pawn push to f5. So bishop d7, it's, you know, it's quite sophisticated, just keeping the bishop out of range, and of course it's keeping the e-file open. So if this bishop ever moves from e7, then the e3 pawn is attacked. Very, very interesting idea. But here, well, AlphaZero starts a really nice concept, and not one that I've ever seen before in this type of position. And yeah, as I said, I play this line with White, so I know quite a bit about it. But AlphaZero plays
a4.
That's the one, a4.
A very typical AlphaZero move, and you can see that it's expanding on the queen side and also looking to hit that knight.
That's right. That knight on b6 is getting hit, but I mean, normally, you know, White doesn't really want to play this move a4, because Black can reply with this move a5, which really stabilizes the queen side. You know, White's not going to be able to get in b4 ever, you would have thought now, because it's covered by the pawn on a5 and the bishop on e7. And yeah, I mean, it just Black's position looks very stable there. I mean, the one drawback to Black playing a5 is that if Black plays c5 later, then White gets the b5 square. So there is a sort of trade-off. This is quite unusual. But and here AlphaZero, you know, having played on the queen side first of all, now goes for the Botvinnik central break with e4. And well, this is always now a very tense and crucial moment, because just at this moment, when White has broken with e4, then his dark squares, the dark squares around the centre, d4 and e3, are at their weakest, and this is where Black tries to exploit it. Pretty much always with knight g4.
So that's threatening to come in and fork on e3.
Exactly. and attacking the bishop on h4 as well, so bishop takes e7. And here, Stockfish played rook takes e7. And you might ask, well, why not this very natural move, queen e7?
But white here has an interesting move, which is queen b3.
That's right. And the point about queen b3 is that obviously it wouldn't work at all if you hadn't included a4 and a5. But the fact that you've included a4 and a5 means that the knight on b6 is attacked and actually doesn't have any real good square to go to. The move that you'd really want to play with black is queen b4, but this leaves f7 unprotected, which is obviously
nasty.
Not what you want. I mean, the best move is knight c8 when, as a pawn sacrifice of b7, it's not too bad. But I mean, the position's, just very unclear and very interesting.
I don't know if I'd fancy this for black particularly.
It looks a bit odd, doesn't it, really? Your pieces don't feel quite right. So what Stockfish did was, I think, the more harmonious move. I think it played this move, rook takes e7, which keeps the b6 knight protected, and then also keeps f7 protected by the rook. But now AlphaZero plays a very nice move, a move that Natasha mentioned in the introduction, which was knight d1. So this, obviously you can say it covers the e3 square. It is a somewhat unusual way of doing it. I mean, normally you play a move like rook f3, for example, and then look to maybe to double up on the f file. But AlphaZero plays this move knight d1, and the point behind it is it's very deep. And you can actually say that this also fits together with the whole plan started with a4. I mean, it's a real grand concept, this, I have to say.
I suppose white's aiming at getting all the pieces to point towards the king side.
That's right, yeah. And that knight on d1 later, it'll head out to e3. So heading towards the king. So we've got this move, knight f6. h3, it was going to get chased away anyway. And then Stockfish played rook c8. So what is black aiming for here? Black's aiming for this c5 break. Because if you get in c5, well, if white plays either d takes c5 or d5, then that beautiful pawn centre of his has been damaged somewhat. And of course, if white plays e5, then the knight comes to d5. And black's got a good spot for his knight, and his knights are very stable. And here, this is where the next part of AlphaZero's concept comes in. And again, I saw it. I just thought, what? Is this a typo or something? B4.
So there's the move we thought had been ruled out a few.
Forever. That's what I said. Ruled out forever. So, the move b4, I mean, obviously, if you don't do anything about it, well, white's either threatening b takes a5, and of course this move b4 is also directed against c6 to c5. So Stockfish took it, and now a5. And this knight has to retreat to a8.
It's nice that white's knight wasn't on c3, because otherwise it would have had to spend a tempo moving away.
Exactly. I mean, this move knight d1, this sort of, allows this idea of b4, a5 just in a very flowing sort of way. It's just, it's really, just a whole set of concepts, coming together in one pretty great plan, I have to say. So, what has white achieved with this? Well, the knight on a8 is passive. It's going to cost black a couple of moves to get it into play, and a couple of moves. Well, AlphaZero will use those to get attacking. So knight e3, and you'll notice now that there's one looming threat in the position, and it's also linked to the fact that black felt it had to play rook takes e7 when instead of playing queen takes e7.
In our book Game Changer, we had a chapter on sacrifices for damage. And this is the perfect position for that, with rook takes f6 to break up those kingside pawns. Exactly.
So rook takes f6 is coming in as well. But Stockfish is not a machine that sees ghosts. If it thinks it can survive, it'll go for pretty much anything. And it played knight c7. I'd have to point out, I was looking at, when I looked at the position, first of all, I was thinking, maybe it's the human way, you sort of think, panic measures. We've got to, why don't we just try and break straight away? You know, just break up that pawn center. And there's some very interesting ideas, actually. I mean, the key idea is e5, c takes d4, and then e takes f6. And there's a couple of ways of doing this. I mean, if you take on c2, then I take, I go f takes e7, queen takes c7, knight takes c2, b3, because if knight takes d4, then queen e3 would pick up the bishop, and knight e1. And a very interesting position. I mean, white's got a knight and two rooks for a number of pawns. Well, I played quite a few, I did quite a bit of analysis, and also played quite a few test games between Stockfish and AlphaZero, you know, with both colours. And white came out slightly on top. You know, it's tough to win it, but it's very tough to defend it. I mean, you know, you have to be a real monster to defend it as well. So it's probably quite pleasant for white. The other interesting idea is that if you try rook takes e3, you know, which is always one of the things you look at when you're defending. You know, can I not go for the whole material grab, but just take some, give some back, and just neutralise? Then we've got this very powerful whack attack. King a7, queen g6, there, check. And yeah, somehow, yeah, you've just got nothing to put in the way. So
it looks like a game of shogi.
It does indeed, but in shogi, of course, you'd have, you know, you'd be able to drop pawns back on the board or something. And here, you know, in chess, once the pawns are gone, they're off the board forever. And this is just horrific for black. So, well, Stockfish kept it. I didn't see any need to strike out straight away. It played knight takes c7, and here AlphaZero played rook f6, gf6, and rook f1. There's nothing, you know, there's no clear win here. There's it's going to be, you know, several moves, you could say, before white's pieces get into really dangerous positions. I mean, knight f4, knight h5, maybe queen d2. But yeah, I mean, what is black going to do against that? You know, how is black going to create any sort of danger for white? That is the real problem. But I mean, I have to say, you know, the attacking play from AlphaZero is fantastic, but the defense is just as good. Really amazing. Only Stockfish can do this. So Stockfish played knight d5. Very clever move. The idea is that knight on c7 is very passive. And of course, that knight on e3 is a big attacking piece. So it's a pretty good exchange. The only drawback is that, well, it gives white a couple of moves to bring the queen closer to the king side. I mean, black played knight takes e3 here. I was wondering, because this knight on e2 becomes so strong later, I was wondering about this move knight c3, just to try and exchange off that knight rather than the knight on e3. But this move knight g3 is very strong, and we're coming in with knight f5. I mean, stuff like c5, knight f5 is just huge. Did a lot of analysis of this, but it's just not working. So Stockfish, knight e3, queen e3, and then play queen f8. I mean, if you try and grab pawns like this, I thought this was maybe interesting, you know, trying to get the queen across to the king side. But we're just going e5, takes queen h6, e4, e4, rook f3. Yeah, this was my line, I think. This was the line I found. And the idea is that g takes f3 is going to, e takes f3 is going to be force mate. We're threatening rook g3 as well. I'll just show you the force mate because it's quite nice. Oops, check and mate. There we are. So, I mean, loads and loads of dangerous things. I mean, it's a real Kasparov attack, actually, this queen a5, e5. You know, Kasparov, there's a lot of attacks in his, from his play where you sort of say, oh, he doesn't seem to have that many pieces around. But of course, the opponent has even fewer really defending the, you know, the king. So, well, Stockfish, expert at defending with minimal pieces, but, decides that it needs the queen to protect something. Could play rook f6 here, but in actual fact, AlphaZero decides, and I think all the other engines also thought that it was the right idea, that you really want a knight on f6, not just a rook on f6. You've got to put a knight on f6 and then bring the rook around to other squares. And here, I don't know, I mean, these are really difficult positions to defend. I mean, white's threatening knight h5, rook f3 to g3, you know, and you look at white's position, it looks completely safe. You know, how is black going to do something? Well, this This is where Stockfish is at its absolute best. c5. So you're thinking, oh, are you going to try and take that pawn on d4? Maybe, break up something. Knight h5. Not a word of it. c4.
Look at these pawns now coming down the board.
Yeah, it's just an incredible way of defending that Stockfish has. So the idea simply is that it's going to, well, first of all, it's attacking stuff along the way, so threatening to build up its stock of material. But in actual fact, those queenside pawns are going to become so dangerous that it's going to be able to give up Desperado style stuff on the king side to keep the mate at bay. Rook f4. Well, AlphaZero is not afraid of giving up more material. If c takes d3, then rook h4 is coming over. Very, very dangerous. So this wonderful move, rook c6, and this is the key to the whole defense in actual fact. So the idea is that if rook h4, you've got rook f6. So AlphaZero plays bishop f1. That's actually an important move. Just to defend the g2 square. There's some quite complicated tactics with that. It's just very important to do that. Stockfish pushes c3. We're just a couple of moves from queening here. e5. And now, again, one of those, really amazing points is that Black's key defense here is that if you go rook h4, then Black's still got rook takes f6 because there's that pin of the pawn on e5. But if you go c2, then queen c1 is actually exactly what White wants to do, because the queen stops the pawn from queening, and now you're threatening rook h4, and there's no longer the pin on the queen on e3. And actually, you're kind of stopped with Black just for a crucial move. So, yeah. Stockfish plays b3.
But these pawns do look dangerous, don't they?
They look dangerous, but yeah, look what's happening on the king side. d5 from AlphaZero. So desperately trying to get rid of that rook on the 6th rank. If that rook leaves, rook h4 is just curtains. So Stockfish sacrifices, and the pawn moves to c2. And now what's Black's threat? b2 and then c1. And of course, a queen on c1 will cover the pawn on h6, so it's defending at the same time. So AlphaZero took on h6, king there, rook there. I've spent so long in this position, but there really does not seem to be a win in actual fact. There seems to be a position of dynamic equality, you'd say. Quite amazing. So rook g5 check is a big threat now. So f6 to block it, but this allows d6. And can you spot which diagonal has now been opened?
It's long diagonal. The threats from g2, but also for White, the c4. So bishop c4, the g8 to a2. The
a2 g8 diagonal. That's right. Bishop c4 is coming in. Rook e6 blocking. You just put pieces in the way because you've got pawns coming round to b2. So this move queen c3. Now this is the sort of thing that it's just if you think in a human game, both sides would be in unbelievable time trouble, impossible to do. But here, the queen on c3, stops c1 and b2, and White's keeping the threats in the position. Queen f7, rook h4. So, Stockfish covered the g5 square, so now the rook's coming around to g4. Rook e5, bishop c4, pinning, bishop e6. Takes king h2. That was the one.
Very calm.
Very calm. It's the engines they've all worked out here that this is going to end up as a draw, but it's still quite astonishing. Bishop c4, rook c4.
It's not obvious to me already that it's a draw.
No. There's a lot of threats. Just rook c8 to c7. Is a big threat, and it's not obvious how those pawns get pushed. But this move, queen d5, is very cunning. It's attacking the pawn on d6, and also rook e2 or rook g5 is coming, to attack the pawn on g2. So d7, rook g5, attacking the pawn on g2, and here AlphaZero decides it's time to, well, I suppose you'd say bail out a little bit and get to this position. And in actual fact, this position is a draw. Those B and C pawns counterbalance, what White can do. So you can give lots of checks and you can do lots of stuff, but you just can't capture a pawn, the pawn on B3 with check and then the pawn on C2 with check. It's just not possible.
The game still went on a while from here, didn't it?
209 moves. You know, at some stage you're not sure who was trying to win. You know, AlphaZero was giving away pawns and trying anything to do it, and then Stockfish was avoiding draws as well. I mean, wonderful games, but in the end, after 209 moves, the game was agreed drawn. So, I mean, I hope you enjoyed that one. I mean, I really think that's one of the most wonderful games I've seen, you know, really demonstrating the skill set of both engines, you know, interesting ideas from both in the opening, this wonderful strategic attacking concept from AlphaZero, and then this, you know, just incredible defense from Stockfish. Never seen anything like it. So I hope you enjoyed that. And, well, you know, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to our channel, because we've got a lot coming up, a lot of videos prepared to start publishing. So keep tuned, keep watching. Oh, and remember, it's nearly Christmas. If you want an ideal Christmas gift, we've got
Game Changer.
We've got Game Changer, our book for you, and even our other book, Chess for Life, which is a wonderful, a wonderful exploration of chess as you get older and how you can keep on improving and keep on enjoying the game.
And it has a big feature on the Carlsbad in there as well.
Exactly.
With the theme of this video.
Main chapter, you'd say. So anyway, keep on watching, and thanks for watching.